Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Another episode of Trash Talk. I'm Damian Hill. With me, as always, is TJ O'Connor. Tonight, we have Kiante the Daredevil Murdock, who's joining us all the way from Arizona. And thank you for taking the time with us. But first, Trash Talk is brought to you again by our sponsors, Valhalla Combat Sports Incorporated, Ink Shrinks Tattoo out in New Brighton, Minnesota, Origin Wellness CBD, The Fighters, TJ's mom, James Clark Sports Psychology and Hypnosis Therapy, Spartan Martial Arts, and the Striking Institute. How you doing tonight, Kiante?
I'm doing good, man. Just enjoying this hot-ass weather, but I'm inside now.
Yeah. Air conditioning blowing up a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. It's going.
Yeah, I guess we are here to talk about a fight that you have scheduled to go down. What is the date again? I'm not quite sure.
May 10th, I believe. It was supposed
Okay.
to be May 2nd, I believe, and then it got switched to May 3rd, and then the corona pushed it back even further.
Yeah. And we're hoping that the quarantine is actually lifted by then, because it did just get extended another 2 weeks. Is there any nervousness in your mind leading up to the fight that it might actually be canceled? Not even actually about the fight itself?
Honestly, to be honest, no, bro. If it get canceled, I feel like it'll get rebooked again sometime down the line. People that watch Valhalla obviously are fight fans. I know Josh Clark is a good fighter. I don't know him personally. I know he's the promoter's son or something like that. But
Yep.
I see the kid can bang, and that's what I'm looking for, and I know that's what people are looking for. So, man, it's no worries. Fuck the coronavirus.
I love it. I feel like that's the perfect response. Like, you just focusing on what you can control, and that's making sure you're prepared to fight, whether it's on the 10th or if it gets changed to a later date. You mentioned you don't know much about Josh personally. What do you know about him as far as his fighting career? What type of fight do you expect come May 10?
Well, not to sound like a weirdo or a stalker, but I do my research on people, and
Same.
just like my first opponent, Isaac Taylor. I seen how he fought in his first fight, and I determined, how I came off in the last fight from watching his fight. I know fights are different, but I pay attention to stuff. But I see Josh as a wrestler, boxer, everything under the sun. He seems like he was bred for this, and that type of thing is what makes me get up in the morning.
Okay, so it's I don't really keep it any secret from anybody. I'm not one of those guys that goes around and tells people what other people say. Anything that's said on this interview or in this interview or in the interview that we do is posted, and anybody who watches it is exposed to what you say. And I am one of those people that cautions people on what they do say or what they do reveal, because maybe it is something that you want props for, but it gives a little bit too much information away to your opponents and things like that. And I'm always bringing that up. And since I don't know if you've seen my profile picture, but it's actually with Josh Clark. I've known him since he was 8, and I've been training with him. But I do want to get you to get background, but without, taking into consideration.
Hey, Damien, can you repeat your question? Sorry to cut you off. You cut out for a second.
Like, from where?
Right after you mentioned that your relationship with Josh, and then you were right when you started the actual question.
Okay. Well, I never started the question, so how about that? No, but anyway, but anyway, I've been training with Josh and been with Josh. So anything that you reveal to me or anybody is something that could potentially be said back to him. And granted, I like to keep my integrity. Anything said off camera doesn't get. But when it comes down to displaying yourself, which is what this interview is for, would you mind giving the fans or the future fans of yourself a background on you and what got you in MMA, or not MMA, kickboxing, fighting, and just your martial arts background in general.
Yeah, you were right about MMA, man. You know, I'm into everything. But what started is, man, I was in school doing a lot of dumb shit. You know, I was exposed to a lot of stuff. I call it the trenches. You know, people call it the streets, whatever they want. I say I'm from the trenches. I'm from the dirty. You know, neither here nor there. But I grew up poor. That led me to have a certain drive in myself to do something different. You know, a lot of people in my family grew up watching movies, all that stuff, fighting in the street. I changed a negative into a positive, basically, if you know what I mean. You
Yeah.
know, growing up in Chicago, it was hard. I moved in '06, '07, like I said, to Minnesota. In 2011, when I was 15, going on 16, I got shot. I got hit 3 times. It was all from one big ass 357 bullet fragment, and yeah, I got hit in my chest, my stomach, and my thigh. And honestly, after that, you know, I felt something coming, and I'm like, you know what? I gotta change myself. I gotta get my shit together. So, you know, I committed myself. When I was younger, I would have gotten to mixed martial arts a whole lot, you know, quicker. But me being from the streets and stuff like that, people looked at it differently than they do like people in suburbs. You know, if we was to go do that, oh, you a pussy for going to do that, you know, woo, woo. And people in the suburbs, you know, they get applauded for it or whatever the case may be. But yeah, just to change my life around and not go to jail, bro.
Man, dude, I applaud you. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, one and multiple bullet wounds. You know, and trying to do something positive. You know, and how you mentioned turning a negative into a positive. What you were saying at the beginning reminded me a little bit of Jorge Masvidal, and that's one of the things, like a prime example. And that's he's one of the guys that I guess has spoke on it a little bit. Where what you were how you wrapped up what you were saying, that yeah, like when you living in the streets or when you're living around certain people, that yeah, you say, hey, you want to go do MMA, oh, that's pussy shit, or why don't you do boxing, or why don't you do this or whatever. You know how many motherfuckers I know that have all saying that they're going to be in the NBA, that they ball, that they could do better than everybody, but they never signed up for the school team, and because they thought it was stupid. And it's like, well, you realize like you're not going to make it to college unless you play for the school, and then you're not going to like it. I don't know how they thought that they were going to get there, but they thought that it worked a different way. And then it seems like anytime somebody realizes that it works the way that you're saying, like, hey, I want to go do this, and this is what I want to do, and be an MMA fighter, and I'm going to work for it. People start to make fun of or talk trash, and it's like, well, dude, you found
Uh,
your path. You know, your eyes are opened. You know, I mean, that's just more props to you. So, I
yeah.
mean,
But to continue on about the question of how I started, you know, I was in Harvey, Illinois. I was living with my father, and I had a cousin. He was number one in Harvey. Like, he was the champ out there, you know. He might be pro now. I don't know for sure. I lost contact, but started boxing and doing stuff with him, going every other day. And then that stopped because I moved and, you know, other crazy shit going on. I was doing it on and off. I went to a Circle of Discipline in Minneapolis, Minnesota before. I've trained at
yeah.
Warriors Cove, preferably the St. Louis Park one. One of the main coaches, like, I don't know him personally, super personal, but one of the main coaches there that was, you know, helping me out and giving me tips was Ben Newman.
Yeah.
I noticed you guys fought, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yep, I pay attention, man. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I started that. I started there in, I want to say, like May of 2018. But I
Okay.
was in combat zone in Chicago, Illinois, on 86th and Cottage Grove, like a few months prior to that. So my MMA training's been on and off and a little bit due to, you know, life situations, but I always keep at it. If I'm not in the gym before the quarantine, I'm doing, you know, stuff at home and stuff
Yep.
like that, you know. Gotta get busy. So just overall, I'm a fighter at heart. I've been wanting to do it since I was a kid. Nobody would probably say this, but everybody has to admit we get influence from WWE. You know, I'm
Oh,
transitioning from WWE to, you know, MMA and shit like
Oh,
that.
oh, I talk
man,
about
hell,
that all the time. I talk about that connection all the time, especially all the kids growing up in the '90s, and
When we thought it was real, when we thought it was real, we thought it was real. So yes, of course. Like, I mean,
Yes.
sorry, Jay, I didn't mean to interrupt you though.
Nah,
but
man, Kane's still Undertaker's brother. Got burned in the house fire. That shit still pisses me off. We're talking 20-something years later. But no, Kiante, I love your response, and like Damian said, I applaud you for what you've been able to overcome, and I feel like that brings it all full circle. Because one of the things you mentioned early in the interview is, oh, I'm looking for the toughest fights. I want to fight the best guys I can possibly fight. Put me in there with them. And then you mentioned all the trials and tribulations you've been through, and one of the things Damian says all the time on the show is talking about, I've been through situations. If I'm in a street fight, that at that point I'm scared, but you put me in a ring with sanctioned commission, a referee, and 3 judges. What do I have to be scared about this guy for? And I feel like that shows. When did you make that first decision to, you know what, fuck it, give me a pair of gloves, let's get in the cage and have your first fight? What was the transition from training into the first fight?
Honestly, it's weird, man. I told myself last year, November, specifically the day was November 5th. I was living in Hopkins, and I was just talking to my people, and I'm like, I'm tired of training on and off. So I'm like, man, I'm finna bite down and do what I need to do. This happened before I lost my job, that is. And the girl I was with at the time, her brother, he knows some people in Iowa, and they were looking for a 145 for an MMA fight. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna speak this shit into existence. I shot my shot. They didn't have anybody for me, so, and I was gonna travel to Iowa to do so, from Minnesota to Iowa. But I started adding people on Facebook, man, honestly, and I seen Valhalla. They said they needed a 145er. I'm like, I'm about 130 something, Even if I'm underweight, I told them like, yeah, I'll fight, bro. I was 134 in the last fight. So they said they responded on, like the 12 days notice. And I took it and I jumped right at it, man. And even though I didn't win the match, it's no pride, put my pride to the side. Even though I didn't win the match, I was still proud of myself because I went in there and did something, and then I proved something to myself, because I've only been doing MMA training and all that stuff since 2018. I'm a gold belt in jiu-jitsu. That's it.
Yeah, man. Well, one of the things, like, I was there. I was actually one of the judges for that kickboxing match. And, dude, you impressed the shit out of me. You were a guy that's willing to go up in weight classes, because I'm not exactly sure, but I believe you accepted a fight at a weight class above.
Damien, you froze right when you said a weight class above.
Okay, so I believe you agreed to a weight class above, and then your opponent didn't show up to the fight. And there was another guy who was fighting at 155, and his opponent didn't show up to the fight, and you were already scheduled to fight at 145. So I believe you two got matched up, and there was only on paper one weight class difference, but I believe there was 2. And that goes down in my book as some warrior type shit. And man, you proved it by doing that, and with the performance that you gave. I mean, you never backed down, not one time, not 1 second. And that guy was that much bigger than you. How do you feel going into a fight knowing that you are going against a guy that you know is going to show up and weighs about the same as you?
Man, I look at it. I mean, I do have I like fighting bigger people. That's just in me, I just work out. But also, I know we're the same size, but I look at him as if he was taller, like as if he was twice my size or something, even though I'm looking right at him. Because, I was told that I might be slightly, but I feel like we're about the exact size. But yeah, him being my size, it really doesn't change anything for me. I just know when it's 2 short guys, it's a war. It's more of a war than, a short guy and a taller guy, because the taller guy has to adjust, styles and stuff. So,
Yeah, that was perfectly said. And war is what I expect. Just talking to you here for the last 15 minutes, getting your mindset, knowing the work that you're putting in for this fight. So, I mean, truth be told, obviously, we're crossing our fingers. May 10 is still going to be the day. But it sounds like whether it's May 10 or it has to be pushed back, you're ready to go. the fight is going to happen, and I mean that's enough for the fans. When it happens, be there. Right now, it's May 10. Before we wrap it up today, just want to give you an open platform to thank any teammates, sponsors, anybody outside of the gym that's been there for you leading up to all your fights and this fight in particular. The platform is yours.
First off, even though I don't train there right now anymore, shout out Warriors Cove, Warriors only. You know, my mom, my family. You know, shout out Jesse Langley. Shout out my boy Shane. That's my boy right there. He's fighting on the same card too. Shout out you guys. You know, Valhalla. Shout out Josh Clark for even accepting the fight or whatever the case, how it went down. You know, and shit. Fuck the coronavirus, man. Plain and simple. That's right.
Oh yeah, and that's where we wrap it up. That's where you hit that like button, you subscribe to Trash Talk with Damian and TJ, and you stop being a hoe if you haven't already.
Yeah, at all points, it's not acceptable.